Good morning, all of you. This is the final session of the day 5 of our week-long journey of the Science Leadership Workshop. Here with me is Dr. Professor Monisha Dhiman. We all know her because she has been with us for many sessions as a moderator. Professor Dhiman is professor at the Central University of Punjab here in Bathinda, and she's also a fellow of many prestigious academies, including International Society for the Infectious Diseases and International Society for Heart and Lung Transplant, and holds PhD from JNU on radiation and cancer biology, postdoc from University of Texas Medical Branch at Galveston in Texas in the US, trypanosoma cruzi induced oxidative stress and immunology. You know, this kind of infectious disease is her favorite subject, especially on neglected tropical diseases. So that is really emerging field, and she is really into that area. Research interest is on proteomics and disease state specific biomarker analysis. And she has several collaborations, international as well as national. Noteworthy collaborations include Department of Microbiology and Immunology, University of Texas Medical Branch at Galveston, Texas, Institute de Patologia Experimental, UNSA, UNISAT, Salta, Argentina, Centro de Investigación Estudios Avanzados, Universidad Autónoma de Estadio de Mexico, Toluca, Mexico, and so on. So, and I'm also happy to have you here with us here, ma'am, because for me you are like a role model, because you know you are not just into the academies, you are also so much into extracurricular activities, and you are a well-known face here in the Central University of Punjab because you are part of the running club, and also you know the marathon you do that, and the music, arts, and voluntary work as a part of NSS, right? You're doing that, a lot of extracurricular activities. So I'm your big fan, extracurricular activities as well. So along with me, I have today's moderator, Dr. Preeti Khetarpal. She herself is a science leader. So welcome, Dr. Preeti Khetarpal. Over to you.
Thank you, Dr. Felix. So I welcome our today's guest. She's a young, very young professor, a woman professor who had fought all the odds and reached a position, a very respectful position at such a tender age. Tender age, I'm saying, because if you compare her age and university faculty life, it is a marvelous achievement. And she is not only very active in science but in other curricular field also. So ma'am, lot of participants, they are eagerly waiting to listen to you. Over to you, ma'am. I welcome all of you. Please, ma'am.
Thank you, Dr. Felix, for such a nice introduction, and Dr. Preeti for introducing me. It's just like, you know, you feel so good when you hear it from your own colleagues. So with whom we are working, seeing every day. And so it's very nice. Thank you very much. I'm sharing my slides. I'll be starting a few of, okay. My slides are visible, right?
Not yet. Yeah, now it's fine.
Okay. So although I have prepared some slides, it was just very short notice, but most of it is talking about and just sharing my experiences since a few years of my during my PhD, post PhD, and my journey till now. Although, yeah, if you see it won't be that long. I mean, it's just 2006 I finished my PhD, so yes, it's about 14 years now. But so that's what I am planning to share with you all, because most of the participants are students. Even yesterday, day before yesterday, I was moderating one talk, and after that I got a message from one of our plant sciences student that, ma'am, hope you remember me, that I'm one of your plant science student, one of them. So I know that he was one of the naughtiest student in my class. So I replied back, yes, I know. So he was, so just such a nice way to being a teacher. So that thing always help. And I'm really very thankful to Dr. Felix. Because of this, we are interacting with the students. So whenever I think of myself, because it was about my journey, so I did my PhD from Himachal Pradesh University and JNU. And here also there is a huge story behind it. because when I started my master's, I was about to take admission in master's. I decided to take MSc zoology, and before that I would like to add, my father is a scientist. He's a hardcore plant breeder, he's a plant geneticist. So every time during my BSc, every time people used to say, oh, papa ki tarah hi banogi. So I intentionally did not choose my, MSc botany or MSc biotechnology. I chose MSc zoology so that I don't have too much of shadow. I didn't want it to have. I wanted to make my own path, because I never wanted that at every step people say, okay, you are his daughter. So that is one way of taking it, which is important. We always want to be, nobody can say that you don't want to be like your father. Definitely that's our role model, but we never want that shadow is all the time there. So that is very important. So I chose to take MSc zoology in Himachal Pradesh University. And then I started, it's a small university. I did a small project. I did masters. There's a project, and you can opt if you want to do a project or you don't want to do research. So I did my project. Then I started doing MPhil, and during my MPhil, I passed this UGC CSIR net. And once you start doing that, you get fellowship. Then you start thinking big. You know that okay, now I am getting a fellowship, and the year I passed it is 2001. That time the fellowship was raised from 5,000 to 8,000, and that was a huge amount for us. So then I thought that, okay, I want to do a PhD. Let's see. I got a call from IIT Kanpur for PhD, and I was traveling. My mom was there with me. And that time, biological sciences, it's 2001. Biological sciences in IIT Kanpur was just started. And the building was still under construction. And I was not very happy to see the way the things were still under construction, and I had to go so far. So when we were, and the biggest thing, my mom, she accompanied me to Kanpur. And when we read there, my mom, we are from Himachal, we are from Shimla, so she was always there in very cool. We have never seen that humidity, and it was July. I still remember it was 2nd or 3rd July, and it was so humid in Kanpur that my mom was, she could not stand that heat. So I felt bad. So while coming back, I was thinking, what am I doing? Do I really need to go that far? So I thought that no, I am happy. I'll join my PhD in Himachal Pradesh University only. So my destiny, I stayed in HP University. I thought that I'll do my PhD in HP University only. But I was working on radiation cancer biology, and for that I need a gamma chamber. And as soon as I registered, after that, that gamma chamber was broken. So once the gamma chamber was broken, it's a destiny. I thought that I will never go that far to IIT Kanpur, but my destiny was not that. So I thought, okay, the gamma chamber was broken, and BARC has to take care of that gamma chamber. It's a cobalt 60 radioactive material is there for fixing. It takes a lot time, and a long time. So my PhD boss, she told me that don't wait for this gamma chamber to get fixed and then start your work. I'll talk to my collaborator, Professor RK, Professor Kale was there in JNU. She talked with him. I joined as 0.5, in Professor Kale's lab in JNU. So destiny was like this. I thought that I will not go far away from my home. I'll stay with my parents, but that is what my destiny was. I had to I have to come out of my cocoon, and that happened, and that's how I came out. I joined PhD, started my work in JNU 2002. Gamma chamber was there, fully functional. I worked on that and submitted my PhD in July 2005, almost 3.5 years. And my Viva was done in January 6, 2006. So it was quite good. As soon as I finished my Viva in January, 29th January, we flew and I got a postdoc position in US. So I joined postdoc in US in 2006, same 1 month after 1 month of my PhD defense. So when I started my work, I will tell you a little bit of my work, what I was doing, but I'm just talking about my journey. So I started working as a postdoctoral fellow in University of Texas Medical Branch, Microbiology and Immunology Department. I was working on Trypanosoma cruzi, very good work, and the kind of work we were doing was very good. When I started, our lab was a small lab. From 2006 to 10 to 12, it grew up like anything. You know, we started getting, we had, when I was about to leave in 2012, my boss was having 3 RO1s. And having 3 RO1 grants from NIH is a huge thing. So when we reached Galveston, University of Texas Medical Branch, there were many Indians. You know, we had many good friends. So many of them, they were settled in US from last 70, 80 years. I mean, 1976 they were there, and they were there from 20, 30 years. So when we went, it was just hardly 6 months of our marriage, and we were there. So we used to miss home. So our colleagues and our friends used to say, "Ek baar jo US aa gaya, nobody goes back. Don't think." We used to miss our home. We used to say, no, we are so destined. We have decided that after some time we'll go home. So everybody used to make fun of ours, that everybody, just when you come out of your home, you talk like this, and after 4, 5 years, you don't want to go back. So our life went on, and in 2008 we were blessed with a daughter, and then I started working again. During that time also, my daughter, she was just 42 days old when I went and joined back my work. That's important because my in-laws were supporting us for 6 months. They were with us, so it was a huge support. And my daughter, she started her daycare in 4 months, which I have not seen. I don't know. She was just 4 months old when she was left in the daycare, but that's fine. She's a strong girl. I am happy for that. So my postdoc position was going on good. After 3 or 4 years of postdoc, I was promoted to scientist one. Again, good thing because grants were there. And then in between, in 2012, 11 September, 2011, September, we applied for a position in India, and Dr. Felix knows that we all applied, we all joined, we all appeared for interview in September 2011. So that time I shared with my boss in US that most probably will be going back. And that's a good thing that when I joined my postdoc, Professor Nisha Garg, I joined her. She asked me that, what is your plan? You plan to stay here? If you plan to stay here, then your path should be that starting NIH grants, doing something which will make your CV strong to get a green card and all that. And what is your plan? So I told her clearly that we want to go back. There's no way we are staying here. After 5 or 6 years, this is what I want to see myself as an independent faculty or a researcher. Because, you know, if you see your position in US, if you have NIH grants, you are good. As soon as you're out of grants, your lab space keeps on going out. You know, a person having more space, more grant will have more space, more salary. A person who doesn't have, it's true for even a 70-year-old person also. So there's nothing like, you know, sarkari nokri, you know, it's nothing like that. So I know that it's always good to have that challenging thing, but every time we don't want that. You know, what if I don't have anything after 40 or 45? What, you know, we have the Indian mentality. We need to have some stable thing. Bank may balance bhi hona chahiye, stability bhi honi chahiye. We want everything. Maybe that mentality was there. So when I told my boss that we are appearing for an interview and most probably we'll get it, or when we, so she was happy. Boss told me, it's good that you're going. I really wish that you stay back, but because it's better for you to go and get a good position, stable position. So I'm happy for you. But in any time in your life, if you think that you don't want to stay there or you want to come back to US, my labs are always open for you. So this is what is a type of, you know, you feel good. And that was the time when that was the peak of our career. I was having because of my work, the kind of work I was doing, that was granted 2 R01s. My husband, he got, Dr. Mantha, he got another very prestigious Alzheimer's Association grant. It's an international grant. So that was a peak of our career. So we chose to come back to India. So every time it's always good, unless until you're thrown out of a country, it's good to choose yourself and decide, okay, this is the time, this is the high time, and now we are coming back. I joined Central University of Punjab on 28th May 2012, and 30th was the final joining. And that was a good journey. In the beginning, I was a contractual. I joined 1 year as a contractual faculty, and then I got a regular position. In next 3 years, in December 2015, I got promoted into associate professor, and recently, then December 18 into a professor, and recently I've been heading the Department of Microbiology. So this is what little bit my journey was. If I have to say why I choose to be a scientist from the beginning, okay, from my when I was little, from that time only I wanted to be scientist. In my case, yes, I can say that because my father was already a scientist. I had a scientist at my home. So in my case, yes, but many times we say that after we do our graduation, then we think that, okay, maybe what we are doing, okay, let's question, yeah, that curiosity starts coming. So then I have seen my father. You won't believe that when I was in class third or second, that time my dad used to, we used to have dinner together, and then my dad used to go back to his lab. He was in ICE, Indian Council of Agriculture Research. So he used to do all that, SNPs and all those RFLPs and all studies. And then he used to make agarose gel. So many a time when exams used to, when we used to have exams, so what we used to do that he had to go to lab. So what he will say, take your books and come with me. So what we used to do, we used to do our homework, revision, everything in his labs, because my mom is a housewife. She's just moderate. She cannot, she was not very good literacy wise. She was not. So my father, she used to take care of everything, or on studies related. But my mom, she used to take care of each and every other needs we had. So yes, so we used to go to the lab and do our homework and everything, revisions there. And maybe I was in class second or third when I first time saw that my dad was pouring something which was earlier a liquid, and that got converted into a plastic, like, opaque thing. Now I'm thinking, okay, that's agarose gel. After some time, I used to, now when we started making them, then I used to think, okay, that was the 80s. Sometimes what we used to see in my dad's lab, but either it was opaque, then it is agarose, or it is transparent, then it is page, right? So now we could, so yes, that curiosity of being scientist started somewhere there. Yes, there was, and we used to have lots of questions, discussions. My father used to give a lot of homework to, because he's from botany, he's a geneticist. So he used to talk about plants all the time. We used to know the scientific names of many plants, just like walking day to day, walking time, evening walk, morning walk. He will tell the characteristic of that particular plant and all that. So those things were interesting. But yes, I definitely did not want to go to botany side because my dad was already there. So later on, yes, I chose my path, and then till now, So this is my PhD work, which I did some effect of radiation on murine spermicides, because as I told you, that this is what the turning point was when I started. I had to do some radiation, gamma radiation based work, and the gamma chamber was not working, and I had to move out of that cocoon of Shimla, and then I had to leave my parents and come to JNU for my work. So I think that was important, because that was the time when I was studying alone in the hostel, and I qualified my CSIRJ. All those things are important. This is the work I was doing in my postdoc. Again, Trypanosoma cruzi, another very important um, in neglected disease. Dr. Felix was sharing that. It's not a very big disease in Asian countries, but yes, in South America, the way we have an issue of dengue and malaria. Similarly, Chagas is a huge problem in South America. So that's why if you see my collaborators, when we were working, we used to have collaborations with Argentina and Mexico, where this is a big problem. So I was working with this, and I was trying to identify, I did some proteomic studies where I was trying to see some molecular markers where we can identify the disease because the problem in Trypanosoma cruzi was that it never get identified at acute stage. A person, when it goes to after 40 years of infection, when the disease is chronic, the person develops Chagastic heart or cardiomyopathy. So it's difficult to make out whether it's a regular myopathy or Chagastic cardiomyopathy. Then only a person in South America, they after death or after any surgery, they come to know that it was not a regular myopathy, it was Chagastic myopathy. So my first project was to identify pathways and to identify some markers which can distinguish, which can be specific for acute stages versus asymptomatic or chronic Chagas. So that is what I started my work, and I did lots of work. I started with a mouse model work. I did some urine work. I did some rat. I started collaborating, and we used to get a lot of human samples, and then we did all those studies, many of those studies, biomarker studies, and humans too. So this was basically my whole postdoc work is this, where I'm trying to identify various pathways, how Trypanosoma cruzi infect or damages the tissues. It can be mitochondria, it can be liver or any other tissue. So this is what we were working on. And in the beginning, I did some murine mouse model work. And later on, in my later stages of my postdoc, I even started working on knockouts. You know, I had NADPH oxidase knockouts, GPX, all kind of knockouts mouse I was working with. So with that, I published work, a lot of good papers, PLOS, pathogens and all. Coming on to, these are some of the papers which I published from my postdoc lab. Coming on to my work, which I'm doing here, basically my expertise during my PhD only was about oxidative stress, inflammation. So I wanted to keep that only, but now I have the inducers can be different. You know, I'm using inflammatory diseases as inducers, H. pylori, because it's microbiology. So I'm maintaining one of the important inflammatory inflammation causing microorganism, which is H. pylori. I'm working on that, and how various pathways, how mitochondria gets affected, all those things I'm doing. Based on this work, I got one Young Investigator DST award also. So, and same time, I'm also trying to work on hypertension and diabetic human samples, where I'm trying to correlate that whether the liver, kidney, and heart biomarkers, the functional markers, are anyway correlated to oxidative stress and inflammation. That is my recent community development cell project, which I am doing in Bhatinda and nearby areas. So these are some of my publications from my last few years in CUPB, which you can see on PubMed. They are all there on PubMed. You can Google my name and you can get them. And this is some H-index, I-10 and all that. These are some of the awards. Recently, last year, I got a faculty research award, outstanding researcher, which you have more than 15 impact factor. Some of the awards, they are mentioned here. I am also, as Dr. Felix was telling, that yes, I'm very active. I have been participating in many of the extracurricular activities. I am part of Innovation Council. I am there. I'm coordinator of NSS. I am. There are many things, Rashtriya Avishkar Abhiyan, and there are so many things I'm doing, and I love that. I just love to be Unnat Bharat Abhiyan, Nodal Officer of Unnat Bharat Abhiyan and Community Development Cell, Earn While You Learn scheme, which I initiated. Obviously, Professor R.K. Kohli, Vice Chancellor Sir, is he wanted us to do something like this, Earn While You Learn scheme, where students can work during their regular classes only. So we have been doing this since 2015. It's more than 5 years now. This is our social work which we are doing. We have adopted few villages in Gudda and nearby areas of university, where we keep on doing many activities like general awareness about Swachh Bharat, health camps we keep on organizing. Recently, Dr. Preeti, she is also there in NSS. So we have been organizing many personal hygiene and those awareness camps, tree plantation in these villages, how to harvest. Recently, last year we did this Poshan Abhiyan, very crucial. I really like this kind of work because when we see the reality, it's bad. So we say that okay, there are so many things which are being there launched, but what a actual villager or what a actual illiterate person gets is nothing. So when we go there and then we ask what the schemes they know about, the literacy rate and the awareness is not there, which we actually think that, okay, once the things are, something is launched, they are available for everyone, but it's not like that. So we are doing little bit of something. I mean, it's not something we are doing very something, but yes, anyway, if we can contribute. So these are the some of health camps we are doing, and we are organizing free health camps in these villages which I told you. These are some of the activities we have been doing, we did last year, and these are some of the pictures. When students they love it, and I love it too. So they have we do all the tree plantation, NSS camps, awareness, house to household surveys, all kind of such related plastic, what they do. You will be very surprised to know that in one of our visit last year to the villages in Punjab, we were told that plastic, because the cattle and the livestock, they are outside. So what they do is, just so that the mosquitoes and insects don't come near to the cattle and all, generally people in villages, they burn the plastic, which is a huge, that was a shock to me. Like, you know uh, throwing it and not getting biodegraded is a different thing, but burning it itself is it's a hazard. So we talked with so many people, and we kept on telling them that okay, throw it, but keep it somewhere, reuse it, but don't burn it at least. That is more dangerous. So those are the small things which we are doing in these villages, and these are some of those activities which we keep on interacting with kids. That's amazing. The small kids, they come in, because many times when we go to these villages, we go with some goodies, and some we cook and we take something. So the small kids, they come, they help us, and they think that okay, let's have something. So that's a fun, so I just love that work. And Dr. Preeti, she's there, so we have been doing these kind of things. And again, another thing which I am also involved in, Rashtriya Shikar Abhiyan, or we are trying to inculcate scientific temperament among the students. For that, we have been inviting students from all the government colleges and schools to our university and see what is, because it's very, very bad to see that yesterday also, Dr. Shobna was telling that the dropouts rate is very high. Girl in high school, the girls are number of girls school studying in high school is very high, but as they are going to higher studies, class 12th, graduation, it's declining. So it's very sad situation, and especially for science, I have seen that in class 11th or 12th, you will see some biology or biology, chemistry studying students, but when they come to graduation, that number comes down. And what is that? So that is obviously for us it is important, because if students are not there in BSc, it's a long term planning, because if people are not doing BSc, definitely they will not come to us to do MSc and PhD. So basically, if we can start doing something at school level, definitely we can do something that is long run. We are helping ourselves only. So this is another kind of thing we are doing, where we are trying to nurture and encourage scientific temperament among the students. And most of the time we call groups of students to university, discuss with them, give them small projects if they need any help, what kind of science they like, discussion. Even if you, many a time I was so surprised to know that students, they not even knew that they have once they visit our university, after they say that they don't even know that there is such a huge facilities and this world class facilities in their nearby area. So, and if this kind of temperament can be developed in the students, definitely they will be more interested in studying science, and then we'll have that's a good for us. That would be good for higher educational institutes. So that's what one part we are doing. We keep on doing that almost every year. 3 to 4 schools come to our university. At times we even, if the teachers, we have a proper planning, at times we even do conduct lab training programs and workshops for the students. So these are some activities which I think are very important. These are some of those more activities which we have been doing. So with this, I thought that I will just share. I hope I was able to take you to my journey. So this is what I believe, that if she believed that she could, and so she did. So that is what is true for every woman, and I think that is what is important. So thank you.
Thank you very much, ma'am. That was really a wonderful talk, very inspiring. And I think most of the participants, they are highly impressed with such a wonderful talk from a young looking professor, I would say. So that was truly inspiring.
Thank
And
you.
your work, you are not only showing excellence in the scientific world, but also doing a lot of things for the community. You have, if you see, you have really few scientists who are doing for the community. So taking time from your busy schedule and doing something for the community is really commendable, I would say.
Thank
So
you. Thank you.
Ma'am,
I
could
think
you please exit your presentation?
Okay, sure.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, continue, Preeti.
I just wanted to start with the questions because participants, they had asked a lot of questions. So Dr. Felix, shall I start with?
Yeah, go ahead, go ahead.
Okay, so I would like to take first question from Srinidhi Bhaskaran. She wants to know, as a female leader, what has been the most significant barrier in your career, and how did you overcome it, and how will you define your growth in life?
Um, uh, Thank you. I think I am the fortunate one, I must say. There are there are women who don't get support from their family. And it's very important that your in-laws are supporting you, your husband is supporting you, or somebody is there behind you. So I must say that I was one fortunate one to have that support with me. But hurdle wise, yesterday we had a talk. Dr. Shobna was there, and I was moderating that session. Whatever a woman has to prove more, whatever we do, it takes more time for us to convince a person than a man do. It's difficult for us to convince that, okay, I can also go to villages and visit and be NSS coordinator. It was difficult, so that thing, with time, yes, but with my work, which is visible, it can be done. Hurdles would be there, but we have to hide them with our work. That's what I think. If my work is visible, nobody can stop me. It will start, but ultimately, yes, that will go on.
Okay, I will pick a question from Suman Lata. Oh, before that, yeah, your talk is really, really interesting, ma'am. And you actually, your journey as a science leader, and it's not restricted to the local. Of course, your research itself is the locally relevant issue, rather than simply following blindly what is going on in the West. Neglected tropical diseases are really neglected, and it really needs our effort and support. And you're doing a great job on that line. So, and more than that, it's not like a young professor. Of course, professor is an achievement, but more commendable is the kind of work that you do. And it's really you're working with a social and ethical perspective, that the community community is getting benefited out of your impact. I think that is more interesting impact of your work, and that is what the community is respecting on. Also your community outreach programs, especially in the villages, and plastic you were talking about, and I mean so many things, lots of the popularization of science, scientific temperament. And yes, so I think that this sort of activity actually makes you contemplate you with a lot of what should I say, satisfaction, job satisfaction,
Yes.
rather than simple research, lab coat oriented. You are someone who actually went out to interact with the real world and real people, and I think that's a wonderful way through. And I think it should be the your footstep, or you could be a role model for thousands of viewers who are watching this program. Especially as a woman, I really appreciate your your inspiration to do these activities. Now, coming to the question, I will pick up one question here. Suman Leta is asking, being a female, I always had a question in my mind, that while applying for a postdoc, how can we analyze our mentor or guide's character in lieu of women's safety, especially in a foreign country?
Suman, it's my personal experience that whenever you go to any country, like we were there in US for 6 years, and I see more in my group. We had a huge Indian Desi group in Galveston. There were more single female than males. So it's not. It's important. I understand that whenever we have to go out from our home, from a protected environment, we want to see everything, so it's good that we most of the time, best thing is to talk to people. Most of the time what happens is that if you are applying for a lab, if you are applying for a position in a lab, so there is interactive sessions, in most of the cases, because recently two of my students have got postdoc in US. So when they were calling back, they also gave the mail IDs and contact information of their own lab people. Okay, so you can talk to people. It's important. We Google search, we see how, because it's important. From online, everybody looks good. When we talk to people, when somebody is offering a position, but yes, we have to, even they do background check for us. So even we have to do. So it's important to check. We have to talk, and when they start the process of hiring, that time their HR people, when they start sending you the visa, that time there are the people who are neutral. There won't be somebody from the lab. Maybe the lab person will not talk and tell you anything about the boss. But at times when they start sending you the visa documents and all that, that time those people are neutral. They are from the offices. So even that time you can talk. So it's always good to talk to people, search it, so that helps. Thank you.
Yes, very well, Professor Monisha, well said. So next question comes from Rishabh Nag and Keshav Goyal. So they want to know, after spending so many years in US, when you came back to India, did you find any differences, and how did you cope up with those differences? How did you find it difficult to thrive, and how you faced it?
It's difficult. Yes, in the beginning, yes, it's difficult. Dr. Felix was there in the beginning when we joined here. So we are there since we are together from that time. In the beginning, what happens is that we come with very high expectations, for in US and in the developed countries, we hardly do any office work. We don't have to do for purchases. We hardly know. We just have to give our grant number and purchase is done. We just have to give the catalog number and purchase is done. So when we came here, first day in office, I had to write a letter because I did not had my desktop. So I had to write with my hand. I had to write a letter to issue a desktop, chair, and table. So I was thinking that, okay, remember we used to write an application to the principal, kindly grant me leave. So I was thinking that I've gone back to the school and writing a application with a pen where I want kindly issue a table, chair, and a desktop. So yes, first few days were like that. Physically, it was very hot. We came in June. So yes, we have to adjust. in scientific environment, yes, people, but we are very, very fortunate. Again, I'm saying that the environment our university had that time, also having a confocal microscope, electron microscope, those kind of high end equipment, you don't see those kind of things in regular many of the universities. So yes, the research orientation was very, very good in our university. I'm sure that if I would have gone to some very big established university, we would have got frustrated. But here, whatever we asked for, we were in the beginning only, things were provided. So that was very, very supportive environment was there. Maybe the vice chancellor himself was from human genetics. So he supported most of the faculty, whatever their needs were. So we were fortunate enough to be getting support, that kind of support. But yes, if you don't get support and your colleagues are not good, not supportive, then definitely you get frustrated. But not touch wood, not in our case.
Tamanna Ahmad is asking, there is a social stigma that PhD is a long journey, 6 years or more. How to encourage young scientists to overcome this and pursue the PhD?
um, it's a very good question, but it's again I finished my PhD in 3.5 years. Okay, so it's all the time the kind of work. At times, people are kind of topic they have. People are doing cloning. That's time taking. Those kind of work. So what kind of work we are doing? Again, mine was mouse work. When I was doing my PhD, I had to treat the mouse with some chemotherapeutic drug and irradiate it. So every organ had a different thing to do. So that kind of work is once the animals are harvested, I have to, for next 3 months, I have to just work with those samples. So that kind of work was different. But now if you see molecular biology, cloning people are doing. So again, we cannot say that a person doing cloning and molecular biology work can finish PhD in 3 years, unless until you have everything standardized. So it's difficult, but we should always take as now to you are given time to decide your topic, your research of interest. So based on that, you should be happy all the time. In our times, so we used to our guides used to say, okay, these are the things what you plan to do. Okay, do this. We didn't had much of options. We used to, I remember, after one experiment, I used to read how to correlate it with my result. Now the students, they have their synopsis ready, methods are ready. So that should not take much time. But yes, difficulties, troubleshooting, facility wise, what you will do if your flow cytometer is broken. In my case, I told you that my gamma chamber was broken when I started my PhD. So we have to see options, and maybe whatever happens, that happens for good. And I got exposure in JNU, which was a big thing for me. So we have to take things positively and move ahead. So that's the only thing. Yes, PhD is a long journey. We need to have patience. Yes.
Yes. So my next question is an extension of a previously asked question. Valamarti Koleraja wants to know that why is that the woman has to struggle a lot to find the platform for her excellence. As we know that when you compare the research excellence between men and women has to struggle a lot. So what could be the reason behind?
Women has to struggle a lot. Yes, true. She has to cook in the morning. She has to do everything, and then she has to go office. Okay, and husband would be ready by 9, and then he will say, "Okay, I'm ready. You are taking so long." Okay, so the struggle starts there. Okay, she has already cooked, she has already packed diaper bag and changing bag and 3-4 bags, whatever. And so struggle started there only. Okay, and because the whole night baby did not sleep, maybe in the afternoon she's little slow or tired or something, then the second that struggle goes to her work also. So maybe during that time she will be little slow in her some deadlines are given, so maybe by 5 those things are not done. And many a times the support from the seniors, they will schedule a meeting at 7 o'clock in the morning or 8 o'clock in the evening. I mean, having a baby or having a family with staying with in-laws, and how can you expect all those things we can manage? But still we manage. We will run you won't believe, yeah, I had a meeting at 3:30 today. I was in the university till 3 o'clock because we had to do some event on Monday. So at 3 also I was in the university, I was running. So so there are things, so but that struggle makes us strong. I always think that women is much more stronger. We have the capability, the strength we have emotionally as well as physically. We think that we are not strong, but when it comes to actual test or something testing, we come out stronger. So yes, struggles are there, but yes, we take that challenges and come out strong all the time.
So here is a question from Namrata Ray asking, as a woman academician, I would like to know, how does one overcome break in research?
Namrata, good thing is that recently DST, and there are many schemes, so even if you have a break in career, so there are some options like DST women schemes are there where they are just giving grants to women who have break in their career, just to have, because of their family and all that, because of their family conditions and all, they took a break in their career so they can come back. So there are schemes, there are a lot of schemes. And even if these kind of things happen, that it's always a good idea to go back, restart reading, and don't give up. I think that's the biggest thing. We Options are there, options will come. If options are not there, if you start reading, you start meeting people, there would be some projects, people will start taking you. Start from small things. It's not, if we have some break in career, it's not all the time that we will straight away get a grant. Even if we start doing some projects in some labs, so that will help us too.
Okay. Over to Dr. Preeti.
Yeah. Dr. Abdul Hamid wants to know in which platform you are getting maximum satisfaction as a researcher or academician or a scientist.
Now I think that's a mingle, because I was a good scientist, then only I could become an academician. I am at this position because I did my research, so they are all related. I cannot say that um, but yes, satisfaction wise, being an academician is good. You have that interaction with students that keeps on changing. So I think that you never get bored with that. So I think that is something very good. But yes, research ka kida will never go away, that will be there all the time. So that will stay, that scientist will be there all the time. But academician, yes, I'm a teacher, I love that. I love that.
Okay, here is a question from Urmila Chakravarti. Nowadays, the students face more competition in the field of higher academics and more pressure for ensuring job security that decrease the scientific potentials of many students. Do you agree?
Job aspect and those things are, I don't think DST, DBT, one person qualifies so many. So it's, yes, it's competitive. It's competitive means you people are good, well learned. You people are good than the previous generation. That's why it's more competitive. So you should, yes, competitive is the competition is high, and but the number of opportunities are not less. They are more. During our time, we just used to have just CSIR. That was the only one exam we used to give, and that was the only time. Now we have DBT, you have CSIR, you have ICMR, you have individual bioinformatics exam going on separate. There are so many opportunities to get fellowships and awards and join the lab. So opportunity-wise, I don't think opportunities are less. But yes, competition is high. Yes, competition is high.
Pariksha Joshi wants to know that we all choose our field based on our interest, but sometimes we are not fortunate enough to get the field of our interest. So, how to deal with it?
So if we don't get field of our interest, um, anytime in life, if you want to switch, you can switch, because if you cannot give your 100%, that you're not giving justification, you're not justifying that job or that work. I have to be happy, if I'm doing some, at times it happens, for example, there is some condition when I have to apply somewhere, I have to, because of family conditions, something can be there, that we have to join some particular lab, and that is not what I wanted to do. But what I think is, first you decide whether you want to take it or not. If you're taking it, give your 100%. After some time, definitely, when things will start coming up positive in your direction, your attitude, your thinking about that will change. So it's positive attitude for that topic, and so I think that will help.
Okay, here is a question from Deepti M. If we compare science done in various countries and then we look at science being done here in India now, what are the programs of the government to catalyze the production of new scientific knowledge?
What are the scientific, what was the second part, Dr. Felix?
What are the programs of the government to catalyze production of new scientific knowledge?
Okay,
I think these two are unrelated, but anyway.
That's what the kind of research which is going on abroad now. I don't think there's much difference. We are doing good, even in India. The kind of work we are doing, quite good. So instrument wise, publication wise, we are quite good. And even the government schemes, what we have, that's what you wanted to know, that recently, as I was telling you, that if opportunities are there high for the students, similarly opportunities are high there for the faculty and our research also. Although the numbers have gone down, the basic sciences, because of this COVID pandemic and all, the basic sciences and all doesn't get funded much, but options are there. So government definitely, you have, especially to build up infrastructure. There are separate grants just for infrastructure. DST FIST is there, there are separate grants. So there are programs where they want the institute or the university labs to go up to a level of any developed country's lab. It's very similar to what we see in any developed country. So yes, many DST FIST is there. ICMR has different lab establishing grants where you can buy only equipments. So there are things which we can, a world-class facility can be generated through these programs. Yes.
Okay. So next question comes from Shrituma Sengupta. She wants to know, does qualifying multiple exams means that the person has a good research bent of mind?
No, that doesn't mean that. But our problem is that is what there has to be one point where we have to decide that how we give entry. There has to be some point that how a student can be taken into some program. So for PhD program, for example, so these competitive exams, at least they tell you that, okay, you are capable of, you have qualified an exam, so that means you have some scientific, but that doesn't mean that the scientific temperament of that person will be of that level. No, there can be some hardworking students who never qualified exams, but they are really good in research. So that is qualifying multiple exam is not a, I don't think scientific temperament and qualifying exam doesn't mean that tells you about your scientific temperament. But that the problem is that, yes, we have made it entry criteria for many programs, for PhD programs and all that. So that's a problem in many of our university entrance programs, but that should not be the criteria, because scientific temperament is entirely different. There are people who are just they just read, and they just make everything, they just read and vomit it, so that is not a scientific temperament. So that knowledge of background, there are students, I have met one student, a master students. He's not he has some reappear to give, but when I was talking to him about some immunology topics, he was so thorough. I was so surprised to hear that in we had a talk in our we invited lecture, and professor from IIT Roper was there, and he said, "You can join my lab. You want to join my lab?" I mean, that kind of, and that student is just a mediocre, having 2 or 3 repairs from the previous semester. So that's entirely different things, you know. Yeah. Dr.
All right.
Preeti, Dr. Felix,
Ah,
I think.
okay. Next question comes from Sudhanshu Tripathi. He wants to know, in our country, in order to set up a high-end lab, we mostly rely on the instruments made in foreign countries. So how the interdisciplinary collaborations can be made so as to we are able to design the equipment in our own country?
So you want a collaborative, the question is about collaborations.
And also I think he wants to know that since nowadays we mostly have the equipments which are imported, we don't they are not made in India, so what
Mhm.
can be done maybe through interdisciplinary collaborations or through some other ways, how can we design the equipments in our own country? So your take on this.
Yeah, it's still very difficult, you know, when you start you know, still I'm a researcher, but still if I have to work, I have to run a gel, I'll trust biorad system more than anything else, you know. I mean, that's a problem, you know. We have experienced it. There are very good Indian made stuff also, but you know, there are few brands which have excelled themselves into that particular, for example, PCR or electrophoresis system of biorad. You know, they have so foolproof system that even after 10 years of work, you don't see any problem, you know. So coming not compromising, that's the problem, you know. We have to come to that level that we don't compromise with the quality. But in India, the biggest problem will come that every step when we have to deal with people, will start compromising. चलो इसको ऐसा कर देते हैं, चलो ऐसा नहीं ऐसा कर देते, तो after that the product which will come has to be either you decide the collaboration should be such that like-minded people join and they don't compromise on quality, then definitely we can do wonders. Jugaad cannot be best, we are best jugaadus, you know. Indians are best jugaad, we are so best in everything. So there is no way, if we can do improve in our quality control and all that, then yes, we can do good, we can do things, yes.
So very true. Sudhanshu Tripathi has another question, very interesting question. Why in our country, after having PhD, many of the young researchers are not having risk-taking capability to start their own business based on their research area? So
Yeah,
why do you
that's
think?
yeah, that's really important, you know. Recently I've been into this innovation council, and Dr. Preeti, you are there too. So whenever we see any of these startup and these kind of entrepreneurship lectures, and we are attending many of these leadership series. So recently, from last 3 4 years, the startup, the number of startups and all that has gone up, you know, which we were not seeing in last 5 years, you know. So um, it is, it was very very now it has gone up. So I think the scenario will change, you know, with time, because the number of startups, the opportunities, government of India, MHRD, there are so many things, AICT, MHRD, they have opened so many. Even at student level, you have the, if you have some idea, you have the proof of concept, you have startup idea, you can submit your proposal, you know. There is no limitation. If you're, even if you're a student, you can do that. So there was not a time, you know, 5 years back or 10 years back, the scenario was not like that. So I think with time it will change,
Hmm.
and people will see. हम हमेशा job seeker तो नहीं रह सकते. We need to come and do, we have to become job provider after some time.
Very true, ma'am. So Anmol Shanwad wants to know why in India the multidisciplinary approach is in science is not up to the mark in comparison to the Western world. So what are your approach, what for the future research, so that maybe we could overcome this?
Anmol, I think Interdisciplinary work, though, we are doing a lot. You know, biologist, if I have to go back and do computational, I have to do interdisciplinary work. If I am done with some of my wet lab work, I have to get confirmed its structure and finalize something in the lab, dry lab, or in a pharmaceutical science. So in our case, we are doing a lot of interdisciplinary and multidisciplinary, because only biology, after some time, only biology won't survive. After some time, in silico, biology and pharma all have to come together. Although we see that the trends are changing, but we have to come up. You know, all the time when I see this, the problem is we are 10 years behind all the developed countries. You know, what has happened there 10 years back, we are thinking of those things now. You know, having a mentor, having innovation cell, those things were there long back. You know, credit score, credit system, choice based credit system, all those things were there when I was in US in 2006. So imagine we are doing it now. So with the time, it is coming. We are collaborating and even government, all the time whenever you submit a grant or something, they say that okay, you should have across the department collaborators. You know, even government funding agencies want you to collaborate and work with other discipline work people.
Yeah. So there are many participants who want to know, you have a undergraduate position in your lab, and if so, how can they apply it? They really want to learn something from you. They are very sure.
I don't have any position. You have to come to Central University of Punjab, and I am advertising it for Central University of Punjab. You have to apply for master program in Central University of Punjab and come then.
Yeah. So
Okay.
I think a lot of female participants, they have got inspired to carry out their research in this field, and they want to work with you because obviously it is very important. In fact, equally important that you must have uh, uh, a motivating and hardworking PI supervisor under whom you could work.
Yeah.
So I think we have already crossed the time, and although participants they want to ask a lot of questions, I will
So,
request them to
Dr.
drop
Felix can
you
share my share my
Yeah,
link.
definitely. Sure,
So
sure. I will do it. And more than that, I just want to add one more point that before coming, Dr. Monisha asked me that, please finish at exactly 6:30 because there is a meeting there. And that is a commitment. I'm really inspired by you, ma'am. And, finishing exactly at the time. So keeping the time. I mean, these are the qualities that we really expect our young researchers and the early career scientists really possess. So keeping in time and being consistent and perseverant and great, all these qualities. Yeah, you did a great job today, and thank you so
thank
much,
you.
ma'am. And I'm
Thank
sure many are inspired from your talk.
you. Thank you very much. Thanks a lot.
Hold on for a while. Let me check calendar. Okay, friends, let me share my screen to you. And yes. Okay, so we have tomorrow session we are starting at 12:15. Morning session is not at 11. Usually we start at 11, but tomorrow we are starting at 12:15, and this will go up to 1:15 p.m. And this is by Professor L.S. Shashithara. He was earlier with Pune, and now he's also with Dhaka University. And after that, from 1:15 to 1:30, you get only 15 minutes break, and then 1:30 to 2:30, we have a talk by Professor Alok Dhawan. He's from Indian Institute of this one, the toxicological research. And after that, 3:30 to 4:30, we have Chandrima Saha. And yes, so Chandrima Saha is the chair of the INSA. And finally, at 5:30 to 6:30, we have Mona Kauri Kasabri from Israel. So we are going to have a wonderful day tomorrow. So I will see you all exactly at 5:15 tomorrow. So enjoy your time the rest of the day, and see you soon tomorrow. Goodbye.